And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to talk about Russell Wilson set to meet with the Steelers. Now, I don't know if what my friend just said in our sports chat is accurate, but Russell Wilson apparently met with the Giants. So I just wanted to take a quick look and see if that actually was true. So yeah, oh yeah, it does say that. Sources ESPN. Russell Wilson to meet with the Steelers. He spoke with the Giants. So that's interesting. Because I know, I mean, as a Giant fan, I've been asked this question, if I would take Russ. I mean, yeah. I mean, with what's going on with the team and, Daniel Jones being injured, I mean, I would take it. Why not? I mean, the Broncos are going to be paying, most of his, contract, because, again, they signed him to that contract extension before his last contract was even up. So it's going to kick in now. So, also wanted to apologize, as I was going to break. I don't know what happened there, but I don't know. The human body is weird sometimes. But, yeah. So, yeah, he spoke with the Giants, and now he's set to meet with the Steelers. I think, I mean, the Giants, listen, I think Russ would be stepping into I talked about the Giants situation. He wouldn't be stepping into a good spot, because right now the Giants, they really don't have a lot on offense. They have a left tackle. Again, they don't really have threats at wide receiver, and Darren Waller's going to make a decision on if he's going to, if he's going to leave or no, if he's going to retire or not. So we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, I don't know. I think the Steelers would definitely be a better fit. The Falcons also, if they're a team that's interested. I think in the right situation, I think Russ could still, win you games. But I did talk about this as well. I mean, his last really good year was 2020, and now it's 2024. And those 2 years in Denver were rough. Now again, well, the first year was rough. The second year was a little bit better, but still, he doesn't look like the same player. And for the Steelers, they've said that they've wanted to bring in competition for Kenny Pickett, which I think is the right thing to do. Make him earn the starting quarterback job. And supposedly there is mutual interest between the Steelers and Russ. So we'll see if that ends up happening. I know that when I did a segment on, there being kind of a controversy, a quarterback controversy. Players were adamant that they wanted Mason Rudolph to come back and be the starter because of what the Steelers were able to do down the stretch to back into the playoffs. And Kenny Pickett was healthy. They just did not, do anything. They didn't put him back in. So, we'll see, if they end up bringing back Mason Rudolph. But, I mean, I think Russ is an upgrade over what the Steelers already have. I mean, my friend did just say that he would still take Daniel Jones over Russ. But, I mean, Daniel Jones is coming off of a significant knee injury. Russell Wilson's healthy. So I'd probably take Russ. But, I mean, again, that's just me. But, I don't know. I mean, I guess, you pair Russ with Brian Dable, and maybe, how would that pairing go? But, the Giants don't really have a lot of weapons. And now they're going to probably lose Saquon Barkley, their best weapon, and really only weapon. So, I don't know. I think for us, the Steelers are in a good position. They can make the playoffs. So, if Russ steps in, you got a good defense behind you. and you got George Pickens, got Pat Freiermuth. You got a pair of good running backs between Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, Deontay Johnson as well. They have weapons. So I think for Russ, that would be a good spot for him. The Falcons as well, with their young weapons, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, that would be a good spot. An up-and-coming defense as well. New head coach. But, but now if he goes to the Steelers, you got Mike Tomlin. We got to see how Raheem Morris is as a head coach this time around with the Falcons. I feel like if the Giants definitely had a better situation, I think that would also not be a bad spot for Russ to go. Maybe even the Vikings, too. You never know. I mean, if Kirk Cousins ends up leaving, Baker Mayfield is still out there. If he re-signs with Tampa, maybe I think I did see something that said maybe the Vikings pursue Russ. And they got weapons, of course. They got the best wide receiver in the NFL in Justin Jefferson. You got T.J. Hawkinson. Jordan Addison had a solid rookie season. That's another possibility as well. So, I mean, we'll see. But 2020 was a long time ago. It feels like an eternity. And that was really the last time Russ had a really good year. So I feel like wherever he goes, I mean, you're probably going to get more of the same Russ that we got from 2023. Good touchdown to interception ratio, but we'll win you some games. But I think we might be. We saw the end of, the Russell Wilson in Seattle. I don't think we're going to see that again, because also he's getting older, too. But again, Nathaniel Hackett was in over his head in Denver, and that definitely played a role in Russ not performing up to expectations. But even with Sean Payton, it's just they started off. It looked like they were going to have one of the worst records in the NFL. Then they started playing well, and you thought, okay, maybe this team could make the playoffs. And then you lose to the Texans, you lose to the Lions. It just it wasn't going to happen. But and now the Broncos, they're done with him, and now we'll see where he ends up. I mean, I think he'll definitely end up on another team, but it remains to be seen what that team is going to end up being. I mean, I guess I don't really know. I don't really know. I mean, if the Steelers and Russ have mutual interest, then maybe it's a possibility. And Russell Wilson battles it out with Kenny Pickett. I mean, I think that's a job he could definitely win. I mean, the Falcons, they don't really have a plan at quarterback at the moment. So that's also a spot that he could go to. And again, Kirk Cousins ends up leaving. That's another spot that opens up. But I also did see some rumors that maybe the Vikings could be in on Trey Lance. Try to get him from Dallas if Kirk Cousins ends up leaving. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. And Trey Lance could be a backup plan if they can't work out a contract extension with Dak Prescott. But again, we'll see what ends up happening there. But there's definitely there's teams that are interested in Russ. He's going to end up with a new team. But again, I don't really see him performing like he did in Seattle. And I think a lot of people are in the same boat just because of how the time in Denver went. I mean, again, he showed flashes, but again, it just never really was able to get that consistency. Again, they had that winning streak, but I don't know. We'll see. The Steelers, I think that would be a nice fit for him. The Falcons and the Vikings, they got playmakers. So, we'll see. I think the Steelers, especially with them having Mike Tomlin, that's a good. I think that is that also helps because you have that stability there. Um, we'll see if Russ can bounce back. Does he? I mean, he said that he has a lot of fire. A lot of fire left in him, but I don't know. Well, you got to see him go out there and play. Can he get back to that level in Seattle? I really don't think he can. But maybe he proves everybody wrong. And he goes to Pittsburgh or wherever and he just lights it up and he returns back to the Russ that, we saw back in Seattle. But again, these last couple of years don't really show us that. But definitely interesting that he did meet with the Giants. Because, a couple of years ago, I know myself and, my fellow Giant fans probably were like, yeah, let's get Russ. When the Seahawks were looking to trade him, it's like, yeah, I would take Russ. Now it's like, maybe I don't really necessarily want him. But for me, I would take him because again, the Giants aren't going to be paying that much of his contract, and the way the quarterback situation is right now, I don't know. Then you draft a rookie quarterback, you let him sit behind Russ, and then when he's ready, you move off of him. Russ could be like that bridge quarterback. It's a possibility. But again, Russ would have to agree to come to the Giants, and I don't think that's going to happen. So, but he at least met with them. And also if the Giants were I think the only way that Russ signs with the Giants is if the Giants were the only team that had interest. There's a few teams that definitely have interest in him. So again, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the Russell Wilson situation. Where do you think he potentially ends up? Let me know in the comments. So before we go into our next break, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So when we come back from our second break of the show, we will touch upon the players that were cut. Some big names. I know I touched upon some of them with the Dolphins as well as the Bills, two teams in the AFC East. But we'll go through some of the other cuts as well. And whether or not they are. Some of them are definitely going to have interest. Some of them are going to get interest from teams. But we'll touch upon that when we come back from our second break of the show. So with that being said, stick around and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.